Murambatsvina,
Murambatsvina vanhu vakafa.
Murambatsvina,
Murambatsvina vanhu vakafa.
Both parliamentary and presidential elections in Zimbabwe from the year 2000 resulted in resounding victories in urban areas for the newly formed opposition party, the Movement for Democratic Change. This phenomenon did not, however, bring about a change of government, and Robert Mugabe's ZANU-PF remained in power. In May 2005, 6 weeks after another such result, the ZANU-PF government launched a countrywide campaign known as Operation Murambatsvina, ostensibly to clean up urban areas. Settlements, some informal, but others which had official local council approval, were razed to the ground. Thousands of families were brutally chased away from their homes and either dumped in rural areas or headed into camps. Some died. Small industry and informal sector traders saw their businesses demolished and their livelihoods wiped out.
Behold, oh, in shock, the ill schemes of a diabolic government which dresses shameful weaknesses with Operation Murambatsvina. Operation Crisis. Operation Cries. Operation Condemn the Poor to Eternal Poverty. Operation Condemn the Poor to Eternal Hell. Operation Condemnation of Sanity. Operation Maim the Poor. Operation Maim the Poor. Operation Rob from the same poor. Operation Create Orphans. Operation Victimize with. Operation Ignore the Disabled. Operation Condemn the Ill to Death. Operation Restore Barbarism. Operation Murder the Innocent. Oh, what type of government is this which murders its own people? What type of government is this which ignores the cries of its own citizens? What type of government
Apart from the devastating destruction of property and loss of life, Murambatsvina left a population removed from local schools and health centers. And with the clearance of the urban informal sector, it further deprived people of the means of earning a living. Hopley Farm, on the outskirts of Harare, was one such camp where thousands of people were forcibly moved. Here, people were promised decent housing and an improved life.
Initially, I was living in Mbare, where I had built my own structures, where I was staying. But then came Operation Murambatsvina, which we deem was politically motivated as a result of the loss that ZANU-PF incurred in Mbare or in all the urban areas of Zimbabwe.
Since 2005, we are staying outside. Till now, we had no water. We are just digging the well near the toilet. That's the water we are using.
Our people were promised better conditions here and better houses. But so far, there's nothing like that. As you can see, the houses they are living in squalid conditions.
A few houses were built, but the government said they had finished building houses at Hopley. Now 3/4 of this community is staying outside.
The people who have built up structures here are senior civil servants and not the real victims. The real victims are not benefiting anything.
I can say now we are economically deprived because all we had was crushed down to nothing.
I was a proud owner of a 5-roomed house. I was a proud owner of some movable assets. I had my own car. I had my own bicycles, my children were attending school. Now, if you look at me today, it's just as good as I'm somebody who is a vagabond.
Even the Prime Minister or the President, they ignore all of us. Even a minister didn't come here when we get into the inclusive government. And none of the ministers came to see our problems. We have nowhere to cry to. But they know, but they ignore.
I'm urging, in fact, all the ministries to take a look at Hopley, and then they should be ashamed of themselves.
We blame the government because the government doesn't say nothing. They are the ones who destroyed our homes. They are the ones who give us poverty. They are giving us more poverty on top of our poverty.
In June 2005, thousands of people from all over Harare were moved to Hopley Farm. Many had come from Potter Farm, where they had been dumped in 1991 after another Harare cleanup in preparation for a state visit from Queen Elizabeth II. At Hopley, there was no water, sanitation, or basic infrastructure. People were reduced to living in plastic shacks in the bitterly cold winter in the hope that government made good its promise to build new permanent houses for everybody. But the near-bankrupt state had neither planned nor budgeted for Murambatvina. The people were left feeling that they were once again being punished merely for being poor and for seeking change.
We've suffered enough since from 1991, just because of the visiting of the Queen. I saw some delegation when we were at Potter. They said they are from the Queen. I sent them a message that please go and tell the Queen that Felicitas Chino from Potter Farm said to the Queen, your visit gave us a lot of trouble, a lot of suffering. Till now we are suffering because of your visit. I sent a message. I don't know if they tell you the message, but I sent it. So when the Queen came, we were taken to Potter Farm. They said the Queen mustn't know that the poor people like you. That's why we were taken there. We were put in the forest. We had stayed there for 15 years. We had our orchard trees, our garden. Children were at school. We had a secondary school, a primary school, an orphanage, and a disabled garden.
We lived in Potter Farm for something like 16 years because it was from 1991, October 2 to 2nd June 2005.
In 05, they came Mr. Chombo.
Mr. Chombo, who was the Minister of Local Government, said it was not worthy staying at Potter Farm. So we must be moved to better places.
Mr. Chombo from the government came and gave us a notice saying, you people in Potter Farm, you are no longer to be here. You better go to your rural areas. And most of the people were not having rural areas, and we don't know.
He said, I am giving you a notice of 2 weeks. You must go away from here. I don't want any answer. I don't want a question. We were worried, really. We cried.
So he said, if you resist in this place, we are going to send policemen and soldiers in order to kill you here.
We said, where are we going with the children?
These people were ZANU-PF big boys. So they had predicted the expansion of MDC. So they just wanted to cut short that expansion by moving people from town to rural areas, where we would meet the brutal crawlheads who would lift up axes and dictate that we must vote for ZANU-PF.
when the policemen, the soldiers, all the motor cabbies, they came in Potter Farm and started destroying our houses, and even some throwing tear gases into the people. And my husband also was beaten and was suffocated through the gases of the tear gases, because the whole community was smoke only in the whole community.
Yes, I was pregnant with a pair of twins in my womb. I was running from tear gas smoke, assisting my colleagues to fight against Chombo, because we are citizens of this country. We also deserve the right for housing. Since we are citizens of this country, I reiterate, we have the right for housing. And not in Japan or in Britain, as they say, but in Zimbabwe, we have the right for housing here. So I fought very hard to defeat him. Hence we are here now.
Hopley Farm epitomizes what happened during and after Operation Murambatvina countrywide. The government promised to build houses for all who had been displaced under a scheme called Garikai, Hlalani Kuhle. 5 years later, we look at what has transpired. Exact and accurate figures are difficult to come by, but residents say that only 18 houses were fully completed by the government building scheme. Many structures were left incomplete with no doors, window frames or floors. A further 85 houses were built by international agencies. But Hopley is home to approximately 10,000 people, 2,000 of whom are children. There is still no water or sanitation.
We were asking the Minister of Local Government, Mr. Chombo, that where you want to take us to, are there any built houses? Are there any built schools for our children? Is there clean water for the entire community? And he said all was well. But when we came here, we found everything different.
The government dumped us here in 2005 and left us sitting in bare grounds and having no water, no toilets, no shelter.
Then I came, I was given a stand. 2 days, they came a group of Junda. They were singing early in the morning to 7. They were singing. They said, come here. I went. And they said, we don't want 9 o'clock to see you here. You must disappear from this constituency. We don't want any MDC member here.
Especially myself and Felista Sinyuk. He said that you too, you should suffer a lot because you are the one who lead those people from Potter Farm to come here in Hopley. So you are the MDC leaders. And he said that, he pinpointed saying me that.
He was shivering, Mr. John, with the anger. He said, do you know that you have spoiled your life? Do you know that? Do you know it you have spoiled your life? You're going to die. I'm telling you, you're going to die. To sell this country to the whites. I went back to Potter Farm. I was staying under the bush, I think for 3 months.
The IOM had intervened after they saw that Chombo had failed to construct houses for us as had been agreed in the Supreme Court of Zimbabwe. So the IOM had to intervene and construct a temporary shelter for everyone else here. Then came the MP of Harare South, Mr. Nyanongo, tried to bribe me by giving me money. I refused. He came thrice. He sent his women CIOs. I refused to be given that money. I told him openly that I belong to the MDCT in particular. I won't change my mind because you want to give me money because there is no future in ZANU-PF. That's when conflicts arose.
Those houses which were built by the Garikai, I was one of those people who was supposed to be in those houses. But unfortunately, I'm here in Zone 3 because they were being sold to those who have got money from Waterfalls, Greenview, Greenora, and such far as Chitungwiza. And they are the very people who are staying in those houses.
Most of these houses in Zone 1 are being used by civil servants. The prison warderers, the CIOs, nurses, and soldiers are living in Section 1. None of us benefited the houses.
Since 05 till now, I built this. I mold for myself the bricks, these sheets we were given by the United Nations. Yeah, that's how I managed to.
And myself, mine is not built like this because I've got an injury. I can't mold the bricks.
I found my own materials to construct this house after my house was knocked down by ZANU-PF political thugs. It was burnt to ashes. After it had been constructed for me by the IOM, there was a shitting right round and everything was destroyed to nothing. It was my own second disaster from the Murambatsvina one.
The MP, Mr. Nyanongo, was not allowing the donors to be in here to help us. I don't know why, but if the donors came here, he showed them to go where the war vets are located there. He said, these people are okay, don't help them. We have to go to help those who are far away there, who are doing their cooperatives at Ushokunzi, and they are the ones who are being helped by the government, and they are the ones who are being helped by the donors there, not us. It's a segregation in our country, and we are taken as squatters, yet we are the people from the same country, same blood, but I don't know why they are neglecting us.
We are being asked to pay a fee to the local government, which we are trying to understand why we are paying that fee. $50, $50, $50. We're trying to ask, are we now buying these tents? Are we renting these tents?
Local government was coming here telling us they want money, they want $50 per year for those who are staying outside like us. How can they milk money from people who are staying in such a state of poverty like us? People who are starving. People whose children are sitting here not going to school because of bankruptcy.
My children were not going to school. Our children were not going to school. In actual fact, most children of school-going age in Hopley are simply not going to school.
They've been staying, just sitting. That's where we've started that school. Just sitting for 5 years.
In 2010, in desperation, the community started its own school. There are no buildings, no money, a few